Your seatbelt is going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell out before you blow up a plane.
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what good to say? I dabbled in stand-up for something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean. Hello. Welcome back to the Chrissie Mayr podcast. You can listen to us on Rumble, Rockfin, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Twitch, Facebook, even wherever fine podcasts are sold. Before I bring on our fabulous guest, a longtime buddy of mine, I have a stand-up comedy show to promote. If you are a Jersey person, you are in luck because I will be headlining one last pregnant headlining show this month, Saturday, February 24th. Be there or be square. I will be headlining Tiff's Ale House in Morris Plains, New Jersey. Keanu Thompson will be featuring for me. Andrew Harms from the Wet Spot, my show on Compound Media, will be there as well. So get your tickets now. I'm going to probably film it. I think I'm going to create some kind of a pregnancy special, or at least get a bunch of good clips out there. So yes, I will see you guys there. And as a reminder, Friday Night Tights tomorrow will be starting at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's noon instead of our usual 4 p.m. Eastern. So tune in a couple hours early. The boys and girls are all down there at MegaCon in Orlando. So that's the update there. Guys, we have a very special guest. I've known this guy for years. I have been like just such a fan of him. Like, he's just so smart. He's just funny. He's quirky. He is an author. He is doing stand-up now. You've seen him on the Alex Jones show. You've seen him on Tucker Carlson. He's written many books. He is all over the place, and he's sporting a new look today. So welcome back to the show, Mr. J. Dyer.
Thank you. Yeah, I've gone with lesbian glasses and the hair from the dude from the Big Lebowski. So
yes, you are giving me Big Lebowski vibes. I don't know. You should be wearing like a thick knit sweater.
It's in the other room. It's hot though. By the way, your intro music is way different than what I remembered. I'm waiting for like Fred Durst to come out. That was some Limp Bizkit level stuff.
I'm very rock and roll now. Yes, I'm very hard. I think maybe it's been so long since you were on. I think the last time you were on, I may have had just this standard issue countdown music, which is not inspiring. Yeah. It's going to inspire nobody. So Jay is here. You're back, and now you dabble in stand-up comedy. How did this come about? Because I've always wanted to do it.
I could do it.
Oh, is that so?
No, I thought, well, because I remember asking you. I asked Sam Tripoli. I have another famous comedian friend too. I said, Jamie Kennedy. I said, should I do stand-up? And everybody was like, yes. Tripoli was like, dude, do it, dude. Why are you doing it?
Do it, dude.
Yeah, so we experimented with it with last year's live events. It was a lot of fun. It's a very unique. It's impression heavy. I don't do a lot of, prose or whatever. It's a lot of impressions, and so it was a year of testing it out and about 6 or 7 live events that we put on, and it went over well. A lot of fun. So we're going to be doing a new live event in March out in Hollywood with Jamie Kennedy again. He will, of course, be our headliner, but it's much more than just comedic stuff. I do some funny stuff. My wife does a presentation on occult Hollywood. I do a presentation on geopolitical conspiracies. And then we let Jamie, our headliner in that case, do his routine.
That's great. It's just a blend of all the things you guys are great at. And what's so great about starting stand-up after you have a little bit of a YouTube fan base or a Rockfin fan base, it's like you're established already. People know you. So the people that are gonna end up coming to your shows like already like you. It's kind of less work
Already,
to win them over per se. They're already fans.
it's a
And
cheat code. It's like the cheat
yeah.
code. So I'm actually, cheating you guys. I mean, you guys put in the hard work, and I basically just cheat coded my way to like, oh yeah, I couldn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
And you
you
guys,
saved yourself 10 years of a combination of open mics, bringer shows, uh blackouts, sleeping your way to the top with various other stand-up comics. You just
have you
saved
had
yourself.
stuff thrown at you? Like, do they throw beer bottles and
I did a show in Atlantic City. It was at a beer festival, and my friend A. Marie Castillo, she's now in New Mexico. She's a Vikings fan. She was on stage and she mentions the Vikings. I guess it was the wrong team. Someone threw an entire Subway sandwich at her, and I was close by. I just
wow?
missed like a pickle hitting me. No one's ever thrown like a shoe or a glass or a beer at me. Thank God. And it
I didn't mean to imply you're bad. I just meant like because comedians that have done it, for many years, they always have the stories of like, oh, the worst, the worst
No, I
time
have
that
not.
when they
Clearly, I've not made it yet because I haven't had anything chucked at me. I've had definitely hecklers. I've definitely had people push over my merch table in Dallas, Texas last May, but no physical fights or anything. I really hope that never happens because I would be terrible at fighting. I would just sort of probably hide under the largest audience member in the front row.
were they
I'm
mad or like what prompted the pushing of the table? Was
Oh
it like,
my gosh. I well, there was a bit of a disagreement about Dylan Mulvaney. I was saying like it's been a year of girlhood for Dylan and why no tits yet? And then one of them yelled out because
mm,
she's a guy in the crowd yelled out because he's a man. I was like, yeah, he's a man. And then somebody else was like, no, she's a woman. I
uh-oh.
was like, it's okay, it's America. We can all have different beliefs. Some of us can believe in reality, some of us can't. And then it was a little bit tense. The women did not leave immediately because they wanted to finish their tater tots, but eventually they did storm out, and then they yelled like "fuck you, transphobe" as they left, and then pushed all the merch off my table and complained to the manager.
Wow.
Um, it was fun. It was fun for me. In those moments, your heart is beating so fast because you're like, "Am I gonna get attacked?" Like these women they're all like 250 a piece. So but it's exciting. Life is about experiences, Jay. I wish that for you someday, is that
To have an experience ever.
you have some angry land whales at a show. But it's different. You're a
Oh,
dude.
I
Like
don't
no people you might get drunk dudes trying to fight you, but I don't think
we've had a couple, yeah, we've had in our last year's 6 or 7 live events, we had a couple kind of troublemaky people. We had a couple people leave because they were angry about what I was talking about. So, but that happens at times. So,
yeah. And you wonder how many people it's like have those reactions just you'll be doing a podcast or something or joking about something. It's just you never know what those reactions are till you're in a live audience with live people getting that feedback in real time. There's nothing like it in the world. It's most people's number one biggest fear.
have you ever had
So,
this experience where you've said something maybe even years ago and you made a passing joke or something maybe on a podcast or an interview, and then you meet people in person and they confront you on it and they're like, it took me many years to forgive you for the joke you made. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, the time that you were impersonating a Vietnam vet and acting crazy. And I was like, I did that on a stream one
wow.
time, like 5 years. And they were like, my uncle's a Vietnam. And I'm like, why would you take that personal? Obviously, I don't know your uncle. But
Yeah.
people get these weird sort of, like you were talking about my uncle.
This is what happens like when people take personally jokes you make or stories you tell or things you do, they react to you almost like they feel like they have to react to you on a personal level, like insult you back in
Yeah.
kind or do something that they deem to be similar. When it's like, no, like it's just like a buffet. Comedy is like a buffet. Take what you like, don't what you don't take anything personally, like just don't go back to that Applebee's. Find a Chili's you like, or maybe find an Outback Steakhouse. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
now you can't tell where I
like
eat.
toying with schizo, right? Like schizo is like they'll tie together things that don't go together in their head. You know, like the fact that I'm making a joke about a Vietnam vet. You know, it's not your uncle that I'm talking about. Right?
No, it's never personal.
Yeah.
So many times, oh, you make fun of trans people, you make fun of Malaysians, you make fun of Black people, and it's like, I'm not saying, if I'm not naming names, you can make fun of a tragedy or an event, and or without getting personal. You can just generally say, because life is about finding the bright side of tragedies. So, and comedy is a lot of our cope, whether you're a professional comedian or not, a lot of us cope with comedy and making sarcastic comments. So you can't take that away from people just because you're offended by it.
Right. Absolutely.
That's like me taking away chocolate ice cream, you know, because that's how you deal with your breakup. Okay, well, you being fat offends me, so no chocolate ice cream for anybody. Well, guess what? Like racist jokes, that's how I cope with things sometimes. So don't take that away from me. That's just an example. Anyway, I'm glad you're doing it. And you're just like one of the coolest, most interesting people. You're always talking about interesting themes. You've always been great at seeing patterns, seeing the larger picture. And one of these themes that a lot of folks have been talking about lately,
like a mild schizo.
yes,
Just
but it's all
mildly seeing crazy patterns.
under control. You're not like in a basement under a under a a shaking light bulb or something. So a lot of people have been talking about this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce romance that's been going on what seems like for an eternity. At first I was skeptical. I was like, no woman likes football this much. No, this is how could she possibly? But and then a lot of people are like, well, look at Travis's, all his exes. They're big Black women or big Spanish women. This Taylor's not physically his type. What's going on? For me, I noticed obviously he's a big old shill for Big Pharma. Very happy to have his arm out with a Band-Aid. And I was like, this is sad. This seems like too little too late for Big Pharma. Like people have made up their minds one way or another. You're not going to convince new people at this point.
Well, let's talk about preferences, because I've never actually seen a Black woman or a Hispanic woman's derriere, but I'm told that they're usually plump and round. Taylor Swift famously does not have a butt. It's odd that he would suddenly go for Taylor Swift if that's his taste. Now, my suspicion is that he and Taylor, maybe they really have dated and have some kind of connection, but really it seems like this is much more of a corporate, political, arranged ploy relationship to push certain things. And I'm sure they both benefit from this corporate relationship deal.
Mm-hmm. It does seem very aligned. Okay, so if I just pop into my Brave search, Travis Kelce's girlfriends. I know this is brave what I'm doing. You know, just bringing up internet results. But here we go. This gal,
Yes.
I'm seeing a lot of shades of brown in his face.
There's a round thing in his crotch right there.
There's a round thing in his face, and he is getting sprung, particularly in this photo here. So, all right, it's a departure. I guess once you go Black, you can go back, which is nice to know. But she's also a bajillionaire. She raises his profile for sure.
Yes.
Taylor dating anybody is going to raise her profile. People just are always very concerned with what she's doing. There's, I don't know if she were to be in a steady, solid relationship, would that change?
Well, she wouldn't be able to write all these breakup songs that you ladies go crazy over, right?
Yeah. What fun are staying together songs? Ugh, that's basically country music, which is where she started. She started out as a wholesome Nashville singer-songwriter-y, just a corn-fed gal.
We have her museum in Nashville. She has a museum dedicated to educating children in Nashville, which is odd, but Yeah, I mean, what most love songs, pop songs are beta. They're like super beta male, right? Don't you think? I mean, it's like they're not. I mean, there are
Yes.
breakup songs, but the way that songs are written, it's like the guy worships the girl, and
No, it's
anytime,
very
like
gay. Yeah.
it's super beta, or like songs that are the name of a girl. Rosanna.
No.
All
Yeah,
we do is
I don't wanna
right.
see that. You know how I wanna see you cope with a breakup? I wanna see a hole or 2 in the wall. All right? That's how I wanna that's how I like my men dealing with a breakup. I wanna see, like, how my dad coped with stuff. Just 10 empty Heineken bottles in the living room. That's how I know shit's being dealt with, okay? I don't wanna hear about a bunch of gay feelings. Uh, no, save it, John Mayer. So, as probably some people in the chat are asking, why would the powers that be need to orchestrate a relationship? Why would they pair Taylor Swift with Travis Kelce? What could each side possibly have to gain from this
Yeah.
union? Because they're both very successful and rich on their own. Why do this? And who would do this?
Well, before we talk about them, we could note that there's a long history of famous pop stars being directly involved in intelligence operations and even lesser known stars and entertainers. I mean, the most famous first sexpionage operative, Mata Hari, she was a cabaret entertainer, and she was eventually arrested and executed for entrapping and getting dirt on men. So, the history of entertainment begins, right? Like, well, I mean, not entertainment, but the history of espionage entertainment and swallow operations, as they're known. You can go back to Mata
Swallow
Hari.
operations. I was involved in that very much in college.
I was setting you up for a joke, and it was an easy
Swallow.
serve over the net there for you.
Is this the correct
Exactly.
Mata Hari here? Okay.
That's her.
She was
Yes.
an
So,
exotic dancer, courtesan, and spy.
and she was executed too for her naughty business.
Dang.
Anyway, she's the first of modern times of this kind of stuff. There have been many people who, also engage in these kind of activities. The most famous girl in Norway in the 1930s and 40s was an actress by the name of Sonja Wigert, Wigert. And they just made a movie about her. And she was like, literally, she's like the Nicole Kidman of Norway. And she actually looks like Nicole Kidman if you look her up. She was tasked with sleeping with Tiny Mustache Man's high command, and that's my YouTube code for you can figure out who. So her
Yes.
government, the Allies, actually said, "Hey, look, we've got your dad arrested. We need you to sleep with the high command of Tiny Mustache Man." And she did it, and she basically ruined her acting career. She was the most famous Norway actress. Her career, her reputation is ruined because she's doing this. They all think she's a traitor. But it turns out the true story is that no, she was cajoled into doing this by the Allies to sleep with, to be another swallow operation. So this is another famous case of actresses doing this. I know that these aren't Taylor Swift. I'm just giving examples. Many other famous Hollywood people were also famously spies. Houdini was a spy. Julia Child worked for the OSS. She was a spy before she became the world's most famous cook. Ian Fleming famously was a spy before creating James Bond, the most famous Hollywood icon, up in the top 5. Christopher Lee, famous actor, Christopher Lee, was an assassin. He killed people. He was a member of the RAF. Noel Coward, the famous theater dude. Audrey Hepburn did some espionage work for the United Nations. People don't know that. Yep. Marlene Dietrich, she was offering to spy for both the FBI and the OSS. They thought she was a Nazi. She was actually trying to spy for those. The most famous director of all the Westerns back in the day. Everybody's grandpa watches Westerns. John Ford. John Ford got 3 Oscars because he worked with the OSS to film war documentaries. So on and on and on. Ben Affleck has come out recently and said Hollywood is full of CIA agents and spies. His former wife
Ooh.
went to work for the CIA publicly to do propaganda and PR work. Jimmy Stewart worked with the FBI. I mean, on and on and on. Cary Grant spied and informed on other people in Hollywood. Marilyn Monroe, to some degree, was most likely a kind of swallow operative. there you go.
Are people really calling this swallow operations, or is this just your
Nope,
nickname?
that's
for it?
actually the term.
Okay. I love it.
Yep. And I mean, I'm not 100% sure of the origins of the term in the spy world, but my guess would be that it's what you think.
Because guess what? You're not going to learn any secrets by spitting, gals. Okay. If you take away nothing else from this podcast.
Did you see that movie, Red Sparrow? Remember that with Jennifer Lawrence? Did you ever see that?
Yes, I did. I loved that movie. I also really loved Black Swan, even though that was more just about ballet.
Well, in Red Sparrow, remember, she's a ballet girl that they recruit into Stalin's NKVD, and they send her to sex school. She goes to Kazakhstan to learn the sex stuff.
Seduction school.
Yes.
Instead of walking around balancing a book on your head, you have a penis on your head that you have to balance.
Right.
No, that's
and that school was real, and the reason I bring that up is that they were recruiting people from the ballet world, the entertainment world, girls from ballet. Stalin also had a famous, I think she was an actress, or one of his most famous spies spying on Hitler was a woman named Olga Chekhova. She was the most famous actress from Russia at that time, came to Germany, was a very big hit in the 1930s and 40s. She was in 100 different movies, but she was believed to be a spy for Stalin, probably engaging in swallow operations. But it's mainly chicks, like they're good at that. Dudes, this is sometimes Skittles. Dudes are recruited into this. In fact, I just did an interview with Nick Bryant, who's kind of the guy who, he's the dude that wrote the Franklin scandal cover up. I don't know if you know about that famous cover up, but he did another book with the DC madam for Skittles dudes. Right? I'm trying to avoid.
We can say gay here.
And I don't even know what you can say on YouTube or not. But so he wrote a book together with Henry Vincent, who was the gay madam of DC. And the point of the book was that, it was all blackmail. So sometimes it's dudes, but interestingly, when it's dudes seducing women, which is much rarer, they're called ravens.
Raven or Ray-Ban?
You guys are swallows. Dudes are ravens.
Oh, that makes sense. Ravens are extremely small. Are ravens and crows the same? If they are, I know that crows very smart. They fly around. They show thanks by bringing trinkets and shiny things. Also, crows can hold grudges for many years, which I love. I love that about them.
You take all the traits from the bird and apply it to the spy.
It makes sense because
now you're going in the
actresses they're obviously great actors. They're beautiful. They're it girls. Everybody wants to be around them. So it makes sense that the CIA would use them for their goals.
Well, it's funny. The CIA claims that Western intelligence does not engage in sexpionage, which I think is absurd and laughable. I mean, we can watch a movie like Red Sparrow with J Law, and she's a Russian who's recruited into doing this, but we're supposed to believe, the CIA doesn't, even though Operation Midnight Climax was a famous CIA MKUltra operation where they used the prostitutes to dose the Johns with LSD and study the reactions. That's just one example of the CIA being involved in direct sexpionage work. And, there might be other famous examples that people have heard of.
Did you ever hear about Operation Give Up on Climax? It's usually just me falling asleep saying, it's okay. I have a headache.
Another soft lob for you. Operation Climax. Midnight Climax. And then that's good job.
Yeah.
I can tell you've done some comedy work before.
I dabble.
You seem to bat the ball back and forth.
Show us that book again.
Okay, so I got a bunch of books. There's this book, which connects our friend Jeff Stein McEffrey.
Yes, right? I know Whitney Webb.
Oh, well, there you go. So that book does a lot of great dot connecting to point out that the CIA and other intelligence agencies have also been involved in working with blackmailing high-level Hollywood people to make sure that they go in the right direction. And again, there's many, many books on this. The Franklin cover-up of Bryant It wasn't so much about Hollywood people, but it was about prominent banking, corporate, and government people in Nebraska and Boys Town and these kinds of institutions. But again, I mean, to go back to like the Hollywood theme, I mean, everybody knows about the flight logs. So we know about the Black Book. We know about the flight logs that included a lot of Hollywood people. Everybody knows about Harvey Weinstein now. So we're starting to notice these patterns, as you pointed out, connecting to Hollywood and espionage.
Mm-hmm. It makes sense. And I hear a lot of folks say, oh, just let Taylor be happy. Just let her find love. A lot of people think, oh, well, it looks like a stable relationship. Not that anyone has any clue what their relationship is actually like. Oh, well, look, he's masculine and an athlete, and they seem really solid together. And oh, look, she's with his mom. They're really gonna make it. It's like, how do you fucking know anything about their relationship? And you also learn like this woman has incredible amounts of influence. I think on a single Instagram post, she got something like 35,000 people to register to vote. And unfortunately, a lot of people take more seriously or pay more attention to celebrities than they do politicians. Politicians are ugly. They're boring. They're long-winded. A lot of them don't know how to dress. So it's much easier to be like, well, what is my favorite celebrity? Who are they voting for? Well, what do they think? Okay, I'm going with that since I'm already watching them anyway.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Elvis. Elvis was famously utilized by his handlers and people in the military to promote the idea of, oh, look, we took this, ratty youth and we turned him into a pro-US military guy. When Elvis goes to Germany, and the story is that he comes back and he's all cleaned up, right? That was all kind of a pro-military cleaning up Elvis operation.
Oh.
Yeah, it was like later this stuff becomes like the USO tour with Bob Hope, that kind of stuff, right? So the close connection between military even and this stuff is also relevant. So this brings us to NATO, which recently had this brainstorm meeting where they were talking about the different ideas they had floated. One of which in the NATO meeting, which is clipped all over Twitter, was the idea, why don't we utilize Taylor Swift as a public forum to get rid of disinformation, as if Taylor Swift knows anything about geopolitics or, what's going on in terms of misinformation on the internet. Now, this would be a great engine, right, to disseminate misinformation and disinformation, to sway public opinion. And that's really the purpose that pop stars serve. Again, Elvis, unfortunately, he was a tool of this kind of stuff. John Potash, who's another author at my publisher, he has a book called Drugs as a Weapon Against Us. And there's a whole chapter in that book on Elvis being used by the establishment to push various ideas. He was eventually deputized by Nixon to have this role in the war on drugs. That's when they were starting to ramp this idea of the war on drugs. And Elvis had this idea like he was Captain America and he was going to save America from drugs and all this kind of stuff. So he probably had good intentions, but he was being used. And so a lot of people have misunderstood the comments in the last few days as if it means Taylor Swift is, going and assassinating foreign leaders because she's, Scarlett Johansson or Mila Jovovich. No. It's saying that these people can be used as engines of dissemination. They can be used as tools. And there might even be some cases where pop stars are used as actual operatives.
Right. And think about just the way the powers that be have been sort of over the last few years searching for who's going to be our trans poster boy. They started out with Caitlyn Jenner in 2015. Well, oops, then Caitlyn had the wrong politics. And Caitlyn's getting kind of old, looking kind of bad. All right, enough of Caitlyn. Oh, now we've got Ellen Page is turning into Elliot Page. Well, Elliot Page not doing so well mentally. Not super attractive looking anymore, not really going to sell very many products, not glamorous, not fun, definitely a bit dead behind the eyes, maybe made a huge mistake. Who knows? But now we had the Dylan Mulvaney experiment, which despite the irreparable damage done to Bud Light, they are still sending Dylan tickets to the Met Gala and all these different events. They're like, well, we don't want to admit that this was a failure. But they probably were the most successful with Dylan just because Dylan's so animated.
That's a great example. Yeah, I remember we were on a podcast maybe 2-3 years ago, and we were talking about, I think it was one of the ones with Tripoli and Isaac. We were talking about how it seems like a lot of people might even be auditioning to be the face of a movement. And, we were talking about how this or that pop star might want to be at the forefront of something like this very movement that you're talking about. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying Taylor Swift is trying to be the poster of the trans stuff, but that also seems to be there. And that means that basically what they're doing is pimping themselves out to the corporations, to be like, oh, take me on as your poster child. I'll be the face of this thing. I think
an acting role is an acting role, whether you're in Juno or it's like, this is the role of my lifetime. I'm living my life as this thing. Dylan was a struggling Broadway actor before he transitioned, and he was in, I think, Book of Mormon, a few other things. There's a pretty viral clip of him on Price is Right, just being an absolute clown. Like, you can tell, you're like, this man lives for attention. Like, that attention is oxygen. I mean, I should talk. I'm a stand-up comic. I have issues too, but you can see clearly the motivation, that fame, fortune.
Well, I mean, you're not cutting your pee-pee off to get attention, though, right?
No, never had a pee-pee. I have one in my nightstand, but that's a topic for another day.
Kind of serial killer schizo vibes again here.
It's on ice.
Well, not a real human. Okay, never mind. Sorry.
You'll never know. I actually have one inside me right now. I have a boy.
There are some female serial killers, though. Did you know this?
I was trying to say I'm pregnant.
People think serial killers are all, middle-aged lesbian glasses wearing white dudes like myself.
Mm-hmm.
No, serial killer, there's actually quite a few female serial killers. You guys are also in the running for that award too. You got some high number counts, high body counts there amongst the female serial killers.
We got to diversify a little bit better. We could use a trans serial killer.
We've had one.
Oh, duh! Of course, right. Oh, Nashville. Yes.
Who's your favorite serial killer?
Oh my gosh, who was the one that was like everyone found very attractive?
Ted Bundy.
I think so.
Yeah.
Is he the one who wrote the manifesto, like anti-technology?
No, that's Theodore Kaczynski. But he did. I mean, I guess he put bombs on planes. I guess that counts.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to change the subject to serial killers.
No, it's all good. But yeah, it's actors are actors, and they can be used for a myriad of jobs. It's just not all of them are TV and film.
Exactly. Well, a lot of people, just even outside of wanting to be the face of a movement, like, I mean, a lot of actors, after they've kind of had maybe their peak, they maybe sense that they won't be getting big roles, so they become like the face of insurance companies
or something.
Yeah.
Or like what we saw with John Leguizamo, like his star started to fade, and then he started having like very spicy social and political takes, and we're like, oh, and Kathy Griffin too, just getting sadder and sadder and more pathetic, and like she was already on the decline when she did her bloody Trump head thing, but since then she's just been like hemorrhaging fans and popularity, and it's like every few months you see her complain like, please buy tickets to my stand-up, I'm so canceled. It's like, you're on Bill Maher, you're not canceled, Kathy Griffin. Like you're lucky to, every show is a gift. You're lucky to do this at all, just like we all
do you
are.
remember not Tracy Morgan, Wayne Brady?
Mm-hmm.
So now Wayne Brady has sort of decided to make himself the face of the pan polycule stuff.
Oh gosh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is a recurring pattern here. I think we talked about this maybe even with Miley years ago, where maybe Miley was trying to be on the bandwagon of being the face of, it was when she said she was gender fluid back in the day, like 2016, 17. She had to say, I might not be Miley Cyrus, I might be. And so we were wondering, is she or Elliot Page trying to be the face of that? I remember speculating about that. Anyway, I apologize. That's way off course. But
Yes, look at this. Wayne Brady comes out as pansexual. I'm doing this for me. Well, how did I miss this? This just happened in August.
Yeah, he was on Oprah or some one of these
Wow.
like daytime mom
And for
shows.
those of you in the
Nobody
chat who
watches.
don't know, a pansexual is just when you're attracted to anyone who makes you a hot meal. So maybe I too am a pansexual. No, I remember him. I met him. I think I tried out for one version of like a Whose Line Is It Anyway show. That was fun, but this is new. Yeah, he's cooled off significantly, so I can understand why he's going to this.
Well, it seems like a lot of people are getting more and more hip to this idea of polycules and like we're all married. And do you remember Zoolander 2?
No, I only really remember Zoolander 1.
Well, you should watch Zoolander 2 because it came out around 2014, I want to say, maybe 2015.
Okay.
So we're already kind of almost, 8-10 years from it. And if you remember in the original Zoolander, the Owen Wilson character is sort of the outlandish sexual experimenter, right? And then in the sequel, he's married to like a bull, a midget, like circus performers. I mean, he's like married to like 15 different creatures, right? So, I mean, even in 2014, 15, they were kind of like like what the satire is like where we're at now, where people are now opening up. Oh, actually, I can be married to my friend, my sister. Like this is where it's going.
Yeah. Wow.
Have you seen this trend of polycules and all this?
Yeah, I have seen, right. Didn't Billie Eilish come out as like a non-binary? I feel like it's like anybody could be non-binary. It's just like, I don't know. I'm attracted to this American flag behind me. Like I'll fucking hit on a beanbag chair. I don't know. The stakes I feel like are so low to be non-binary because you don't really have to like chop anything off. Or really even get a haircut.
You can just say it like magic words. Like you just I
Yeah.
identify it, right?
Yeah. It's like we get it. You hate your dad. You'll get over it. Nothing is permanent.
But like the polycule thing is different. Like this is moving into the direction of like we now have a quasi marriage situation of like 4, 5, 8 people.
Oh gosh,
You
like
see what I'm
a
saying?
group, I had that, but it was like a roommate situation, and we all just split the rent, but we didn't see each other.
But you weren't like,
naked.
you weren't,
No, nor would we want to. I wouldn't even share a meal with these disgusting people. But a lot of us were stand-up comics. So this is right. You think they're just trying to use this? Oh, like the celebrities are making it look cool. Let's move away from the traditional nuclear family. Let's move away from marriage. Let's move away from religion. All the things we held dear for decades.
No mom and dad and babies. Let's have anything and everything but that, basically, right?
Yeah, growing in the lab. Have a faceless, nameless surrogate carry your baby, which I think is just like a horrible. It should be so rare, but clearly celebrities help to glamorize this. I'm like, oh, good. I saved myself the stretch marks. Like I can't lose my amazing body. I'm just gonna have some lady birth my child for me. And like how traumatic I don't even care whose egg, whose sperm. That baby's in a woman for 9 months. They're going to be connected to that woman. It's going to be traumatic to have to leave them.
Well, you may have already heard this, but did you know that via Jepstein that he was also seeking to collect many eggs and ladies?
Yes, he wanted a whole army of little Jepsteins running around. He was all about like he wanted to have a lab.
On villain level stuff, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember Moonraker?
It's like I don't remember, but I'm like what I do remember is that Jeffrey Epstein had a strange, small, egg-shaped penis, or maybe I'm confusing this.
Oh, that's Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein. I think I don't know. I may have.
I know my penis is. I can assure you it's Weinstein.
I don't know. I just think the guys that end up doing shit like this, they have weird junk. They have issues with their junk, and they're trying to overcompensate.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's even like more dastardly. Like you've got, if you watch Moonraker, that's the James Bond 70s Roger Moore installment where the villain decides, I'm going to depopulate the existing nation states, and I'm going to choose the hottest babes out of the different people groups. I'm going to put them in my colony, impregnate them all, and then I will be the new father of the human race. I'll be Adam again, right? So, I mean, and then literally you've got Epstein, trying to do that very thing. It's pretty wild.
I can understand like the ego involved. Like, well, men love novelty anyway. It's like there's something inside a lot of guys and women too. They're like, well, let me just do it with as many different kinds of people as possible. So I wonder if an extension of that is just like, ooh, what does the half black version of me look like? What does the half Spanish of me, baby, end up looking like? And you're just like, yes, my sperm is so important. It needs to be on everyone and everything.
No, I think you're onto something there. It's like a god complex, right? Like I'm gonna be. Well, in the story, Moonraker, Drax is the villain. He wants to be worshipped as like not just the father of a new human race, a quasi god figure. So yeah, I think there's definitely like a god complex here. And in the case of Epstein, if you go back to the 80s, he was involved in multiple big Ponzi schemes for hundreds of millions of dollars. Bear Stearns collapses when he's there. His partner, Steve Hoffenberg, goes to jail. Epstein skates free through all of these events. Why does he get skate free? Right. There seems to be a continual pattern of up until at least the 2000s that he kind of is protected and skates free. We have that famous incident with the guy from the Trump administration, Acosta, who, when they asked him why he didn't pursue the investigation into Epstein, he says, well, I was told to lay off because he's intelligence. So there's a protected class that basically adopts this, God complex that then they just kind of go crazy.
So getting this back to Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce, do you think the goal here is simply votes for Biden or whoever they're going to run?
I think that's the immediate short-term plan for sure, was to pull out all the stops. I mean, Trump is so far ahead in polls of Biden that they're going to have to resort to, in my opinion, any means necessary. And that includes the tradition of DNC people recruiting the pop stars. Now, back in 2016, if you remember, it was actually Katy Perry. So
and Cardi B interviewed Joe Biden. That was hilarious.
So there's a long tradition, right, of the pop stars, kind of typically favoring and being courted by the Democrats. I'm sure there's money involved in that as well. And I think this is just the latest instantiation of that. But it shows, again, even if Taylor Swift is not literally a NATO operative, they already have her functioning in that capacity kind of already, right? She's already disseminating disinfo for this system by getting so many people, as you pointed out, just on Instagram alone to sign up to be Democrats. And I mean, I don't think this is literally going to sway the election, but I think that it's just one of the many dirty tricks they have.
It's also something they can use to set the table. Like, wow, Taylor Swift has so much influence. Maybe she could sway the election. It's almost like they're putting it out there so that when they do end up doing their usual shenanigans, they could be like, well, it was because of Taylor.
Taylor Swift. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a deflection. Interesting. Yeah.
And it's not telling you have to pretend to date Travis Kelce. It's like, oh, okay, he's tall, he's handsome, he's jacked, and also they're both gone from each other for so long. Just go, all right. You don't have to like bang him for everyone to watch. Just hang on him, hug him, whisper, maybe a kiss here, hang out with his mom, and you'd be like, okay, yeah, I could do that. I could do that in my off time with the price.
Well, as I understand, they're kind of doing like a meta performance art thing where they're trying to make the actual fact that she's got to fly to a concert and he's going to be at the Super Bowl, and she's got to immediately. This is like real life performance art.
These were articles. This was like, oh my God, how is Taylor going to make it from wherever she is Japan to
Right.
she's got to fly. She's got to catch this flight so she can make it to the Super Bowl. Will she do it? It's like, who fucking cares? I hope she misses her flight. I hope there's a crying. Actually, no, there won't be a crying baby on her flight because she probably flies private everywhere. Well, so much for that idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, so that is all probably also for Super Bowl ratings, right? I mean, again, a lot of this stuff is fake and gray. I mean, it's stage stuff, right? It's again, I'm not saying that they're not in a relationship. I'm just saying that I do think a
Yes,
lot
come
of
on. Women are
a
so
lot,
easy to manipulate. You're not going
yeah.
to get the dudes who are not into football to watch football, but you can get chicks who are not into football to watch football. Either A, if their boyfriend or husband watches it, or B, if someone like Taylor Swift is in it and they're like, ooh, I'm gonna watch her. Like, what is she gonna do? What's she gonna say? Is she gonna mouth "I love you" to Travis? Is she
Well,
gonna like
ever since the NBA and the NFL, all these pro sports organizations, ever since they've adopted more and more of the woke agenda, the ratings have tanked. So they kind of have to pull out these stunts, right? I mean, I don't know what your take of the Will Smith slap incident was, but I don't know. But a lot of people thought, oh, this is for ratings because the ratings of this thing. So all the establishment things are tanking in ratings. So this is just one element of this story, I think, which is the obvious, like, we need a real story to boost, attention and get eyes on the Super Bowl and this kind of stuff. So that's one element of it, I think. But I think there's a more nefarious element of social engineering for sure, which, is to, again, like you said, pull out all the stops to ensure that the regime continues on.
right, because the Kardashians are like, they're getting a little more boring. They've taken out their ass implants. They're a little slimmer. They're all getting a little older. Um, so yeah, someone like Taylor Swift, you're like, okay, looks wise, not blowing any, like, she's fine, and her music is fine, but like that's why I do kind of believe, like, yeah, she might be a witch because like, how do you have people falling all over her, such fans, and you're like, she's okay, I guess she looks great in
Well, to
costumes.
me, yeah. So I'm a dude looking in. I don't even know more than like 2 Taylor Swift songs that I've ever heard over the past 10 years. Um, I don't understand the popularity. Like, I get Elvis, I understand Jacko. I've studied pop stars and this kind of stuff for a long time. Why she became this mega, mega, mega thing, like Jacko or beyond level, I don't understand. So I'm curious. I always ask girls when I'm ladies, women, when I'm talking to them, why do you think, as a lady, is it because she taps into the female psyche and their struggles, or like, I just don't understand
Yeah,
why
that
she's
would be the only thing because she's not fat, black, or trans, so she's got to
yeah.
bring something else to the table to make her okay. And I think that is, yeah, she's always been like, oh, young and can't keep a boyfriend. But you're like, oh, fuck, no, she's 34 now. Like, she should be trying to keep a boyfriend at this point.
Mhm. So
So
is the source of the success something tapping into the psyche of girls and their dating experience? Or
I
is she just
think
like, is
so.
she just the best pop star
She
ever?
definitely glamorizes s- sort of like, oh, you're in a toxic relationship, but it's not your fault. It's his fault. Glamorizing like the breakup, the shaking it off, the like girl power. And it comes in this like kind of inoffensive package. Plus she's like tall and thin. She's what everybody always loves, but we have to pretend we don't love. We have to pretend we're not into white, thin, beautiful girls in
Okay.
2024.
Okay.
So this is how it's either
Is that
her or like
is that enough?
Lizzo.
Or is it this establishment backing, I guess? Like,
She definitely has
because
establishment backing
yeah.
her. Any like pop star or comedian who has a meteoric rise, I think has
Yeah.
special folks helping them
Did
get
you
there.
hear the Cat Williams interview?
No, I don't think so. I heard a clip where he was complaining that he hadn't been on Joe Rogan yet, that Joe Rogan doesn't want him on.
Well, so the interview went mega viral, right? Like 50 million views on his Sean, I forget that guy's name, Sean Tay or whatever it is, podcast. And I have not heard of it's like a football dude that does a podcast. Anyway, long story short, it's a 3-hour podcast. Listen to the whole thing. His argument was that in the comedy world, particularly the black comedian world, that many of the cohorts that he was around in the late 90s, early 2000s were compromised in certain ways and were created to be at the level they're at, and that they don't have actually any talent. And he actually says there were Illuminati parties. There was swallow operations with dudes going. So he went pretty wild in that interview, basically saying stuff Dave Chappelle had said a long time ago, type stuff. So, but relevant to the comedy world, because he argued that, well, I'll just tell you, I mean, because he says like Cedric the Entertainer and Kevin Hart and I forget other black comedians, maybe I don't remember who else he named, but he was basically saying that they were all given those careers by the system, that they didn't actually.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Because you have
don't know
to
if
be.
It's true, but that was why that.
I bet it is, because it's not enough to be just a black person who's talented in their field. You gotta have the right kind of black person with the right opinions, pushing the right thing, and that's gonna help you rise to the top.
Yeah, he argued that he had to basically create a parallel stand-up tour that got really popular and was outside of the Hollywood system, because after Friday, when he played the pimp in the Friday movie, he was basically blackballed. He says, because he didn't go along with a lot of the compromise and the orgies and all the crazy stuff, which is just to get.
Ugh, so gross. But yeah, I believe it. So there's a lot of sort of cultish behavior intertwined with Hollywood, and blackmail. And it's interesting because I've been learning a lot more about the Mooney cult. I saw a special recently, and I don't know, I'm sure I've mentioned this before, but my dad's dad was in the Mooney cult, and I never met the guy. He died, I think, when I was in college. So, but all I remember is like from what my dad told me, which was like he divorced his mom at a time where people weren't really getting divorced. Like he was a German immigrant. I think my grandmother on that side was Austrian, but yeah, they divorced and then participated in a mass wedding. I think he married just a random Korean chick in one of these mass weddings. And my dad would always say, like, yeah, he was always giving so much of the family money away to the Mooney cult, the Mooney Church. I think it's called like the Unification Church.
Yep.
And he had a lot of ill will towards his dad for that. Then he would always talk about like the cheap meat that they would always eat, but he wouldn't pay for Boy Scouts. He would give all the money to the cult. But I've been trying to learn more about it because I think it's just like so fascinating.
Well,
Like
I sent you an article that's a key. This is an old article. I can't believe I found it. It's been reprinted on whatever this weird New Zealand news website is, but it's a 2012 article covering the history of not just Sun Myung Moon, but his connections to the KCIA, which was the Korean intelligence agency set up by the CIA, and the fact that eventually he had to make these connections with Bush Sr. Bush Sr. was for 1 year the head of the CIA too, by the way. And so the Washington Times and the Moonies and Bush all go together by the CIA. As the article notes, Moon's Washington Times ran the headline, "Bush scoffs at the assertion he's moved too far right. The bizarre, almost unbelievable political alliance between the Bush and the Moon family is one of the dirtiest little secrets in the involvement of U.S. domestic politics." And so if you go deeper into this, I remember this article from many years ago, but I can't believe I found it. It even goes into, if you notice right here, the KCIA, which was created by the CIA during World War II. It gets into the history of Sun Myung Moon. And I was trying to remember if it's the Bush sold Washington Times to them or they sold Washington Times to Bush. I can't remember which way it went. But
I think I remember in the documentary I listened to that the Moonies bought the Washington Post.
Okay.
Because he wanted to help his I guess his public perception.
Yeah. And the shadowy network around the Moonies and the CIA helped propel both Bush Sr. and Bush Jr. into the presidency. Recently, the Messiah's newspaper has spent much of its time attacking Obama. Besides the Washington Times, the Unification Church had business holdings, including the United Press International. I don't know if UPI still exists or not. Moon was often shown in the mainstream media presiding over his mass marriages. More importantly, were his marriage of convenience to the CIA and the Bush family. So kind of just fake conservative, fake right-wing
Wow.
CIA crap.
Yeah.
But I would bet, I don't know this, but I would bet you would find patterns of MK Ultra type stuff amongst the Moonies.
Damn. So crazy because I
Because
can understand how chicks fall for cults, but I just don't get how a dude could fall for a cult.
I just remembered one of the things that he believes. I just remember this. He thought that, so because the Bible and the New Testament, this is so stupid, but a lot of times cult arguments are pretty dumb. And here we are back to the schizo level linguistic problems. Because the Bible says that Jesus is the second Adam, right? So it's comparing Christ to what Adam did in the Garden of Eden, right? He's the new Adam. Well, Sun Yun Moon said, well, if there's a second, there's a third. So I'm the third. I'm the third
Right.
Adam.
Right.
So that's why he's the new Messiah. So it's just
The confidence you have
to say you're the third.
to say that you're a Messiah. My God. Only a man could pull that off. Let's see here. Yeah,
well, there have been a few cult girls that claim to be the goddess. So
I guess.
Do you remember that girl that was on Dr. Phil? Dr. Phil. That she was the goddess, the love goddess. Do you remember her?
No, I just know the Cash Me Outside girl, and she did great for herself.
Well, the love goddess girl is almost as good because they have an interesting exchange on Dr. Phil as well. No, you tell me that you believe you're the goddess of love. Are you willing to hear any contrary evidence to that?
That's a great impression. This is interesting. Moon proclaimed at his family values conference he was the only one who knew all the secrets of God. One of them, according to the Chronicle, was that the husband is the owner of his wife's sex organs and vice versa. Woo!
Jamie knows what's up. She's in there. I've got
intense.
That's right. I've got the title deed actually right here to her sex organs.
I just like to. I get it, but to say it sounds cringy. Like you keep it in a little box at night.
It's not a title deed. It's not a title deed. That was a joke.
I think they also owned the San Francisco Chronicle. I think they mentioned that in this article as well. In 1997, the New York Times wrote that Moon has been reaching out to conservative Christians in this country the last few years by emphasizing shared goals like support for sexual abstinence outside of marriage and opposition to homosexuality.
There's interesting parallels between Mormons and Moonies. And that whole family values, 80s, 90s stuff. Mormons were also very heavily involved in that.
Yikes. I just don't know how they, and I guess I'll never find out, but I want to know like how they were able to convert him and like lure him in. From the documentary I watched, I guess they never say that they're obviously they don't say they're a cult. And they actually didn't really
related to a woman, because a lot of times people go into religions, people overlook this. I'm not saying you're overlooking it, but when people are studying, why do people come? Well, maybe they were just looking for some of JJ, dude. Maybe there was a chick in that cult that they thought, oh, I can turn her out of that cult, and then they end up in the cult.
Right, honeypot. They were honeypotted.
Well, was there a lady in the case of your dad, or? No.
Yeah, it was my grandfather. He married some chick.
Oh,
like I guess it was a Korean chick randomly in one of these mass weddings.
Oh.
Yeah.
What was that the reason?
I don't know.
For the woman?
I guess so. Unless there was really good food there. I assume it was the woman. Spectral Citizen, supposedly Taylor Swift helped generate $331.5 million this year for the NFL. Holy shit.
So basically she's like Midas, right? Like it's just gold wherever she goes. That's crazy.
Wow.
Like this is beyond what, because they used to say this a few years ago about the booty chick you were talking about. What's her name? Kardashian,
Cardi
right?
B? Oh,
No,
Kardashians. Yeah.
like anytime Kim Kardashian would like mention a product, right? That company would do like, $10 million.
Right. And you know
So
what?
now
It's
it's
because
like,
her fans are getting older, and people who love the Kardashians are like late. They're like,
oh,
right. You need to get the teens and tweens,
gotcha.
which
That's it.
Taylor Swift has a monopoly on. And like, yeah, Kardashian fans, I would say like, yeah, 40s, maybe
Mm.
some Kardashian fans in their 30s, but they're wising up. It's that you got to get that new voter demographic, which
Yeah, but they don't have any money though, right? Like Gen Z and millennials don't
yeah, but you
have
don't need
money.
money to vote. Just
No, but I'm saying like, how is like, so Taylor Swift, whatever she does or talks about or product, like it's just a money generator. So where's the money coming from? Like,
I don't know. I'll see videos of like this little girl who sold lemonade all summer to be able to afford a ticket to a Taylor Swift
yeah,
concert, or some parents being
right.
like, I love my daughter. I had to spend $900 on on these concert tickets. They get
Oh,
obsessed, and I guess
have
they
you
make it
heard the
work.
story that so her first catalog is owned by supposedly Soros? Have you heard this?
Yes, yeah, that he
And
bought
then so
all her
she's
shit out.
redoing her whole catalog to own the redos. And I've always wondered if this
Wow.
wasn't an ingenious way to just double all of the album sales.
Wow. Yeah, that would
Just
make sense.
speculate.
That would definitely make sense. Daniel Jagger, thanks for the super chat. So, are there any differences between honeypots and swallows? Is it an Eastern versus Western hemisphere thing?
I think honeypot is sometimes used for used more generally. So, for example, you could have a honeypot operation that's online that entraps journalists that's not sexual. So you could have, a fake website that's, send me your leaked info, and you're really working for the government and you're trying to figure out who's leaking info, right? So a honeypot is more broad and doesn't just refer to sex, but sometimes people call sex espionage operations honeypots.
Right, like a honeypot could just be like a date where you get you have an undercover camera, and
yeah,
maybe you're just wearing glasses and you're able to get a lot of information out of someone who works at the White House.
Exactly. Yeah, like James O'Keefe type stuff.
Yeah, all he needed was glasses. That was so amazing. And that man knows how to fill out a pair of khakis. I was like, look at his wrists. He's moving his wrists way more than usual. He had it down. He had like just enough of the.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a hero. To pretend to be gay for your country.
Well, some of the sex espionage people, right? It's the same line of reasoning, right?
Yeah, make America gay again, so you can get information out of people who work for the White House.
Let's all pretend to be gay to expose the compromised gay people, and then we can go back to being straight. And then
yes,
yeah,
because compromised gays love sex, and they're just like, I gotta get some. I don't care. They're blinded by lust. So really, it's gay guys are kind of a liability.
In the Cold War, especially.
Yeah.
That was like a huge thing in the Cold War. Yeah. And then it turned into underage people. Right.
Right. Oof. Right. Which is the worst possible blackmail you could have. It doesn't get worse than that. Yikes. Okay. So what are your feelings? Are you consider yourself like a black-pilled person going into the election? You're like, I'm gonna wait and see?
I kind of black-pilled, I guess, about voting in national elections. I guess if I had to vote, I just did an interview with Roger Stone. We had a good conversation about what he thinks is coming and all that. And I appreciate the Trump machine doing some good things and talking about real conspiracies and things. But I don't know. You know what I mean? Like voting, like the president can't do that much anyway. You know what I mean? So even if it's kind of just symbolic, I guess. So I don't know. I'm just not I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Roger Stone is hilarious, and he dresses well, and he's a fun hang.
Yes.
And he I'm sure is very enthusiastically well, he's definitely always been for Trump, but he probably
Well,
has
we
to
had a good
very
conversation, and I think he makes good points that, well, look, I mean, I'd rather have Trump than Biden, for sure. So, put it
Oh
that
yeah,
way.
Trump's way funnier. And I love Melania. She's a blast. We need to get a good-looking first lady back in the White
Yeah,
House again.
I think that Trump needs to, this is my opinion, I think he needs to do all the stuff that he talked about doing in the original campaign. So don't fill your cabinet with swamp people. The
Yeah.
whole warp event was a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those are my two critiques.
And I don't know if he can acknowledge the warp disaster, to what extent he can acknowledge the failures there. But
Right.
that is something a segment of his base will like never forgive him for. So it's like, is he going to completely ignore it? Is he going to acknowledge part of it? That might be interesting to see. Or does he ignore it, but then do everything else that people have complaints towards? I'm not sure. I think if he can deport a lot of these illegals, I think some folks might be willing to overlook the warp event.
Yeah, I think in,
That's a
in
more pressing
politics
issue.
you can make up for mistakes in politics, even huge mistakes. I mean, I'm not saying the mistakes were good or right, but the public will forgive you and move on and like you again, if you start to do some things. So
Yeah.
I just see the whole Trump phenomena as symbolic and a wave that people hopefully can ride to wake up for real, beyond just that kind of stuff. Which it seems like it has done.
He represents like a lot of sort of populist hope. Like we need him. Like we need to believe it's possible for someone to make
Trump
things
is like
better.
a boogie board that we ride. And then once we become adults and we get on the surfboard, we don't have to have our boogie board anymore.
It's a boogie board that smells like McDonald's. Because that's all
what I've
he
heard.
eats. Yeah. Where can people follow you, Jay? What books of yours are out right now? Where can they buy them? What are we working on? What are we excited about?
I am working on the third Hollywood book. I don't know when that'll be out. I'm having fun kind of collecting a lot of Hollywood rabbit hole information, and I'm going to be talking about spies and intelligence agencies. And so the first book, which you probably have over there on the shelf, Hollywood, Esther Hollywood 1,
Yeah,
Hollywood 2, you can get those at the website. I also have my big fat red book, which is all of my geopolitical writings and philosophy essays, about 600 pages. You can get that on my website. Every Friday I host the 4th hour of Lord Voldemort, Alex Jones show on InfoWars Band.video every Friday from 2 to 3. 3 years now of hosting the 4th hour. So we always go deep there. And like I said, in March, if you want to follow me, you can look for the live event that we'll have, as far as we know, late March in Hollywood, California, our live event with comedy and philosophy with Jamie Kennedy. So that's what I'm working on and looking forward to.
Do you think Epstein is still alive?
I mean, I suppose it's possible, but I don't have solid evidence of that. I just kind of go with what we can dig up, the hard evidence. So, I mean, I'm not bothered that people speculate about that. It's certainly possible, but as far as I can tell, I think that the motivation seems like they would have gotten rid of him. I'm not sure why they haven't gotten rid of Ghislaine. Seems like they would have gotten rid of her too if that's the motivation, but anything's possible.
Yeah, that is questionable. It's like, all right, the powers that be, if they wanted to get certain information out of her, you figure they would have at this point.
Maybe they're, I don't know. I mean, if they can get rid of him, they could get rid of her. So I don't know.
Maybe she's super connected. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, but he was too, but maybe she
Yeah.
more so. But I mean, they got rid of her dad, so maybe they just
True.
haven't gotten rid of her yet. So I don't know.
Maybe she's a really great cook. Maybe
In the prison, like that scene in it's like that scene in Goodfellas with Paulie, right? Paulie's over there cooking in the prison for all the mobsters. Remember that?
yeah, maybe she makes a heck of a license plate, and they're like, "Wow, we really can't afford to
Yeah,
lose her."
She stamps it better than anybody.
Interesting. Jay, you're the best. Everyone follow Jay Dyer. If you're not, you're stupid. Buy his books. Where is the best place
You're
for people to
faking
buy?
gay.
Yeah. Where's the best place to buy your books? Do you prefer one site over another?
Yeah, if you go to my website, there's a shop because we sell the signed copies, right? So if people buy it from
Ooh.
Amazon or Bezos, right, you don't get a signed copy. So yeah, buy it in the shop of the website, and yeah, there's other products in there. My wife's books are in there. She has Hollywood books as well. So thank you.
Oh, that's so cute. Do you ever do shows with your wife? Right. You said
All the
she's
time.
done the live shows with you.
Yeah, we do, and we do our like last night we did a show on weird kid movies. So she and I do a lot of movie podcast breakdowns.
Like weird as in like
The top 10 weirdest kid movies you've ever seen.
okay, just weird. I thought you meant like dark or
No, some of them are dark.
okay.
Like Peanut
Yeah,
Butter
there was
Solution. Have you ever seen the Peanut Butter Solution?
no. I saw there's a movie we didn't even get through it, but it has something to do with like these people that would like steal the essence out of a kid. Like it was very scary.
Oh,
It was
Dr.
like
Sleep?
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, very, very dark.
Well, that's just straight up horror movie. But we were looking at like movies for kids that were really weird and creepy.
Okay. I see.
Yeah.
What does she think of the new long hair?
She convinced me to do it. She was like, long hair gives you superpowers. Samson in the Bible, grow your hair out. And I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, I had it long in 2016. It was like all the way down my back. But yes, she talked me into it. So I did it. So it was her idea.
Okay. Up next is a grunge band. I'm very excited.
It does look very, very Kurt Cobain.
It's
Eddie
good.
Vedder.
It's good. You look like a brooding emo type. I'm here for it.
What if I
you,
did the
Jay.
whole interview like that?
Yes, just have it in your face. Like just do like a swooping bang, like a
Do you
true
remember
emo boy.
Temple of the Dog, that song?
Yes.
I don't mind stealing bread.
That's on literally one of my playlists. I listened to it like yesterday.
How did I
They
know
were
that? I'm
they
schizo,
Stone
I
Temple,
knew that.
Temple of the Dog was what eventually became Nirvana, or what eventually became
Well, Temple of the Dog it has Chris Cornell from Soundgarden and
right.
Eddie Vedder's in it, and they're both playing guitar and singing, and I forget the other grunge dude, but it was like a side project that the grunge dudes out of Seattle had.
It's a great band. That's a great song. Thank you to the chat for your comments. I love Soundgarden too. Hi Viking. Thanks for the super chat. Hail Chrissy. Hail the bean. I miss Whatever Wednesday. You know what? The show did come back, so maybe Fealty and I will have to bring this show, the Whatever Wednesday, back. Amazing. Thank you, Viking. Thank you to the chat. You guys are great. Everyone follow Jay. Any parting words? Any final thoughts?
No, thanks for having me back. It's good to reconnect, and it was a great conversation. And I look forward to future chats.
You're the best. I mean, you were definitely the smart one in this episode, but I feel like I helped a little.
No, you helped. You knew a lot of the facts. You pulled up articles I didn't know and hadn't seen.
Yeah, I clicked on things. All right, we'll see you guys